Hello, and welcome to LSET Tech Bite. Today, we're going to dive into the world of game development and learn how to create a simple Space Invaders game using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Let's start by taking a look at the HTML code. As you can see, we have a basic HTML structure here. We've defined the document type as HTML and included the necessary meta tags for character encoding and viewport setting. The title of our game is Space Invaders Game. We've set in the title tag. Inside the body tag, we have a div with the class container. This is just a container to hold our game title and the canvas element. Speaking of which, here's our canvas element defined with the ID board. This is where all the action of our game will take place. Think of it as our virtual game board. We're linking an external style sheet called style.css to handle the visual presentation of our game. Now, let's briefly look at the CSS file. This is where we define the styles for our game elements like the canvas and any other visual components we might have. Lastly, we include our JavaScript file script.js just before the closing body tag. This is where all the magic will happen as we write the code to make our game come to life. Now that we've set up our HTML structure, it's time to add some functionality to our game using JavaScript. In the next part of this tutorial, we'll start coding the game mechanics such as player movement, enemy generation, and bullet firing. Now that we've set up the structure of our Space Invaders game using HTML, it's time to make it visually appealing with CSS. Let's dive right into the CSS code. We're starting off by setting the font family to Courier New Courier Monospace. This gives our text that classic retro feel that fits perfectly with the Space Invaders theme. Next, we're aligning everything to the center with text align center. This ensures that our game elements are neatly centered on the screen, giving it a polished look. Now, check out this awesome gradient background. We're using a linear gradient with a 45-degree angle, going from a deep purple to a vibrant pink. This creates a dynamic backdrop that sets the tone for our space-themed game. Oh, and don't forget about the overflow hidden property. This ensures that any content overflowing from our container is clipped, keeping everything nice and tidy. Moving on to the container class, we're defining the background color as white. This creates a nice contrast against the colorful gradient background and makes our game elements stand out. We've set the width and height of our container to 760 pixels and 845 pixels, respectively, giving it a fixed size that's perfect for our game layout. With margin 30 pixels auto, we're centering our container horizontally on the page and adding a bit of space around it for a cleaner look. And check out those rounded corners. We're using border radius 5 pixels to give our container a subtle touch of elegance. Finally, let's take a look at the styling for our game board, defined by the board ID. We've set the background color to black, creating a sleek and immersive gaming environment. Now that we've styled our Space Invaders game, it's time to give it life with JavaScript. Let's dive into the JavaScript code. We've declared some variables to set up the game, such as the size of each tile, the number of rows and columns, and the width and height of the game board. We've also defined variables for the player's spaceship, including its position, size, and velocity. Plus, we've set up variables for the alien invaders, bullets, score, and game over state. Inside the window.onload function, we initialize the game board and set up event listeners for keyboard input to control the player's ship and fire bullet. We load images for the player's ship and the alien invaders, and once they're loaded, we draw them onto the canvas. We also call the createAliens function to generate the initial set of alien invaders. The update function is where the magic happens. We use the request animation frame method to continuously update the game state and render the changes on the canvas. We clear the canvas, redraw the player's ship, and update the positions of the alien invaders. We also handle collisions between bullets and aliens, updating the score and removing defeated aliens and used bullets from the game. The move ship function allows the player to move their ship left and right using the arrow keys. We check if the game is over before allowing any movement. In the Create Aliens function, we generate the initial layout of alien invaders by looping through the specified number of rows and columns. Each alien is assigned a position on the game board and marked as alive. Lastly, the shoot function lets the player fire bullets by pressing the spacebar. We create a new bullet object with its position set just above the player's ship and add it to the bullet array. And that's it for the JavaScript code with these functions in place. Our Space Invaders game is fully functional and ready to play. By the end of the video, you can see that our Space Invader game is ready to play. Please like and subscribe to get updates.